We Tibetan, since 7th century, 8th century, Buddha Dharma reached Tibet directly from India. And particularly Buddha Dharma, which kept through centuries in Nalanda institution. One of the Nalandas was, I think, during 8th century, 7th century, I think one of the most prominent sort of scholars. His name, Shandarakshita. He invited by Tibetan emperor in 8th century. He introduced Buddhism according to Nalanda tradition. So therefore, I always describe you Indian. Historically, our guru, we are Chela. And sometimes I also see expressing, we are not only Chela, but reliable Chela. That means in this country, in your own, the Guru's own land, recent centuries, a lot of ups and downs. During this period, your knowledge, your rich sort of tradition, and wisdom tradition, we kept intactly. So, it is sufficient reason to describe ourselves as a reliable Chela. So our relation is not economic reasons or political reasons, some other reasons, but mainly spiritual level. Very sort of close link. So sometimes, now these days, I also describe myself as a son of India. Reason, my thought here, my brain, every sort of particle of my brain filled by Nalanda thought. Since I start to study age at 6, 7, most important text which we study. Firstly, we memorize all these texts. Then explanation, word by word. Then through dialectical debate, through that way we study. So every part of my brain cells filled by Nalanda thought. Then this physical. Now over 53 years, since 59, this body survived by Indian dals, Indian rice, Indian chapati. So therefore, mentally, physically, I really feel son of India. So therefore, when I look India, Bharat, not only in, I think ancient time, I think India truly produced, I think most brilliant sort of human, brilliant human mind, I think produced from this country over 5,000 years. Then, certainly, most ancient religious tradition with rich philosophical sort of, the background, that also, I think, lasts over 3,000 years. This country is produced. So as a result, now today, say today, 21st century, India is the only country where all major religious traditions live together. Beside homegrown different religious traditions, all different religious traditions, come from a different part of the world, all established here and live together peacefully. I think a true sense of spiritual brothers, sisters truly exists in this country. So I always is telling people, India is the model of all different religious traditions live together in the spirit of genuine harmony. This is, I think, one of the greatness of this country. And then modern time, say since 47, this country, if compare neighboring states, I think this country not only most populated democratic country, but also very stable, very peaceful, very harmonious. Of course, few occasions, some problems. That's quite understandable. A country where over billion population, some mischievous people always there. That's understandable. But overall, I think this country is really peaceful, stable, democratic country, and rule of law. Sometimes here and there, a little drawbacks there, but that's understandable. But overall, I think wonderful modern nation. So these are the basis of your further development. Not only material field, but also spiritual field. And can be, I think, really model or example, good example, where I think on this planet, 7 billion human beings. Firstly, I think generally we facing some kind of moral crisis, different part of the world. In Europe, and South and North America, and Africa, and Middle East, and the rest of Asia, there are some problems. So the inner value, I mainly stress the India's 1,000-year-old tradition of secular ethics. In many countries, the very word secular, people sometimes a little uncomfortable. And then because you see, people believe ethics, moral ethics must be based on religious faith. But in this country, over 3,000 years, you see the concept of secularism already there. And that means respect all religion and no preference of this religion or that religion. And also respect non-believer. I think that is something very unique, very special. Some my Indian friend, like a former Deputy Prime Minister Advani, told me, over 3,000 years, you see, India has a tradition, respect non-believer. Although there are views among the sort of the philosopher, debate, and they condemn. But people who hold that view refer rishi, means sage. So there is the concept of respect, even non-believer. So that kind of the secular ethics is very much relevant to today's world. And then religious harmony. As I already mentioned, all major traditions live together here. So in these two fields, promotion of secular ethics. And secular ethics related with non-violence, ahimsa. Ahimsa means not out of fear, non-violence, or restraint, harming other. Out of fear, not that. Or out of indifferent, no. You fully committed, serve or in action, but never commit harmful action, violence. So that's ahimsa. So ahimsa, in order to carry practice of ahimsa, tremendous self-confidence and inner strength. Weak person, too much emotional person, difficult to practice ahimsa. So ahimsa is your 1,000-year-old your tradition. Then religious harmony, 1,000-year-old your tradition. So now I want to point out, modern education, extremely important. Last, several decades since independence, I think modern education and education facility is year by year improving. Now, including here, I think a lot of students, a lot of services, schools, wonderful. Yeah. So if you simply pay attention about modern education alone, is not sufficient. Then you will not be full Indian. As I mentioned earlier, you have your own, the old tradition. These ahimsa and religious harmony, these are not only ancient tradition, but also very relevant to today's world. So therefore, while you pay more attention about modern education, you also pay some attention about your 1,000-year-old your tradition. Then in Indian tradition, the practice of shamatha, vipassana, all ancient Indian tradition, these practice there. So logically, where practice of shamatha and vipassana, automatically a lot of explanation about our mind. In modern, even in modern psychology, it's a modern sort of the specialist about brain, very much lacking the knowledge about emotion, about mind. So you have already, I think, quite rich knowledge in Indian sort of tradition about mind, about emotion. According to my own experience, now nearly 30 years, I had sort of serious engagement with modern scientists, medical scientists, and also brain specialists, and also psychology in these fields. Our tradition, the knowledge, right? Knowledge about mind, about emotion, then how to tackle these emotions through mindfulness or through shamatha, through vipassana. Extremely useful. So these you must keep in your mind. So some of these ancient knowledge is very, very relevant to today's world, where some mental problem, mental crisis there, knowledge about mind, sometimes I call map of mind, map of emotion, that we must study. Once we have fuller sort of picture of emotion and mind, and the system of these negative emotions, destructive emotion, once you have fuller sort of picture, or knowledge of fuller picture, then much easier to deal. Then not necessarily rely on some problems here develop, then relying on tranquilizer or alcohol or drugs. No, without relying external means, through your own sort of mental level, see, you can deal these destructive emotions. So that's a part of India's ancient culture, ancient education. So many education centers in the West and also, Europe or America, now many educationists and also scientists really showing serious interest how to deal with mental crisis. So you already have these sort of knowledge already there. Now this younger generation, please pay more attention. So sometimes I call hygiene of physical as well as hygiene of emotion. It is very important. According to some scientists, usually we express healthy body very much related with healthy mind. So we need some kind of sort of study about how to take hygiene of emotion or mind. The healthy mind not come through prayer or simple meditation, but the healthy mind come through fuller knowledge how to deal with the destructive emotions. So therefore, this is something very, very, very important. Then you see this education, this kind of education, if we carry with religious belief, then it never be universally acceptable. Because no one single religion sort of great sort of, however great, but never be universal. So secular ethics can be universal, and also secular ethics can be taught in secular education field. So my young, the Indian friend here, please think more. In other words, education brain, simultaneously education heartedness. It's not talking about next life or nirvana. Simply how to build healthy human beings, healthy family, healthy community, and through that way, healthy humanity. Obviously, a lot of problems which we humanity facing. Major portion of that problem is essentially man-made problem, our own creation. So therefore, logically, since this problem created by human ourselves, so therefore we must have ability to reduce this problem. If our mental thinking is correct or long-sighted and holistic, then certainly we can reduce these problems. And eventually, if we make attempt constantly through education, perhaps next generation, after that generation, I think within this 21st century, I think we can build happier world, peaceful world, not through prayer, but through education. I think very possible. In that respect, I think India should lead. That I hope and I believe you can do it. That, and then I usually is mentioning my generation, and also I think principle. That I think we are more or less, I think, same generation, a little bit younger, I think, than me. But in any way, our generation belongs to 20th century. So our century already gone. So people who belongs that century now eventually say goodbye. we have to, we have to say bye-bye. So this generation, you, young, bright, you are truly generation of 21st century. So now 21st century, just at the beginning, 1 decade passed, but almost now 9 decades yet to come. So, future always possible. Something change can be possible. Future is something like space. Past already happened. We can learn experience from memory. Otherwise, nothing can be done. Future still in our hand. So this generation, 21st century generation, now future of the world is in your own hand. Then particularly future of India is in your own hand. So therefore, you need visions and more sort of the educational knowledge. In order to know the reality, we must look things more wider way or holistic way. You cannot see things, reality, only from one angle. We must look from various angles. So in order to carry that, you see, you need more holistic view. That's very, very important. Then you get the real picture of the reality. Otherwise, there's many problems today here, those man-made problems. Actually, I think there's huge gap versus the reality and appearances. Many mistakes happen because their sort of activities or their action based on appearances, not the reality. So the very purpose of education is try to reduce gap appearances in reality. So in order to know the reality, you must have more holistic sort of view. So holistic education is something very, very important. Then also in order to see the reality, your mind must be very calm. Too much emotioned mind cannot see the reality because your mind already become biased. In order to know the reality, our mind must be very sort of neutral and can look objectively. So again, in order to keep calm mind, warm-heartedness, very important. Warm-heartedness creates inner strength, self-confidence. Then our mind becomes more calm. So these things should not consider as a religious practice. But these things is something we human beings have wonderful potentials there. Now we must utilize this sort of potential. In order to utilize this potential, we should have more knowledge about these potentials. Clear? So that I want to share with you. And then Dalai quite close with Dharamsala. I think in future, occasionally, I think we may have opportunity meet when you a little grown up. Then I think we may have another occasion come. Then I will check what since our meeting, what your sort of the effort about these points, whether seriously implement or not, I will check you. So thank you very much. And then of course, the concerned people, you see, really organized this very well, really very, very attractive way. And most important, every person's sort of face seems, you see, full of joy, smile. So I really love smile. Smile is, I think, one of the unique things about a human being. Maybe some monkey, I think you observe some of the monkeys in this area, whether they have the ability to show smile or not. Otherwise, I think smile is really unique human sort of Kasoda. Human soul was capacity. And then I must make clear. Smile also brain is, I think children smile. I think really genuine human smile. Like me and like this generation, better education, then sometimes our sophisticated brain, sometimes that good quality also utilized for sarcastic smile or cheating smile, diplomatic smile. So such smile sometimes you see creates more suspicion, more fear. So I think we human brain sometimes you see ability to spoil some of these good things. So I really love smile. I always see when I meet someone, I always consider a human being, no differences. Now here I'm talking to you. I just simply consider myself as another human being. Quite old person, age differences, but the same people. Mentally, emotionally, physically, we are same. As soon as I consider myself, I am something different. Perhaps I consider I myself as a sort of holy Dalai Lama. That kind of attitude creates distance from you. What use that? We are meeting human beings. On that level, entire 7 billion human beings are same. Different nationality, different races, different caste, different religious faith are secondary level. Many problems, man-made problem, not based on oneness of human being, but secondary level of differences. On that level, we create a lot of divisions, a lot of conflict. You see, come from that. So time comes, we must think about humanity. Entire 7 million human being is one. Our future depends on the rest of the humanity. So that's the reality. Now think more. Your thinking, not only you concentrate in Dalhousie or Himachal, but think whole India, then whole Asia, then whole world. That's very important. Since you have great potential to make significant contribution for humanity, so you must think broad way. That's very, very important. Thank you very much.